Igor, welcome to the Life Science Success Podcast. It's great to have you here, and I look forward to talking to you more about. Is it New Biologics? Is that correct?
It's NewBiologix, that's correct. But
Yeah,
first of all, Don, thanks for having me here.
yeah. Thanks
I'm
a
really
lot.
happy to be here with you.
Yeah, so tell listeners a little bit about yourself. Who are you, and what
So,
led you to life sciences?
yeah. So basically, I'm a scientist by education. So, decided to become a prof at an academic institution, but lack of a bit of independence. So, started a company 20 years ago called Selexis, and that get me into entrepreneurship and allowed me to develop a completely new platform for producing monoclonal antibodies. We sold the company 15 years later in 2017, and that company at that time had 159 products in clinical trials, spanning from phase 1 to phase 3, and 6 products on the market. So it was a tremendous success. And that's got me into business. And after that, we decided to address another issue, which is gene therapy. Why are the costs for gene therapy products to cure people that high? And that's what we do at NewBiologix now.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting that to know that your background starts with the monoclonal antibodies,
Yes.
right? Because it seemed to me being in the industry, and look, I mean my sort of surface level in this, and many listeners know this already, is that I spent a lot of time with the Amersham
Yeah,
Pharmacy
yeah,
products
yeah,
with General Electric, right?
yeah, yeah,
And so I heard about monoclonal antibodies well in advance of them sort of
yeah,
being
yeah,
something that was
yeah,
available.
yeah,
And then all of a sudden there was this huge
yeah,
escalation of
yeah,
everybody working on
yeah.
monoclonal antibodies.
And that all came out of gene and herceptin in the year 2000.
Right.
And the issue back at that time was how can we produce them efficiently?
Right.
So that's why we started to work from a scientific perspective on a new platform that would help in enhancing or boosting production. And that's what we did for 15 years with a really nice delivery. And we had so many clients working on the platform that allowed us to really, me actually, to be really proud of actually having drugs injected in patients produced with my platform.
Right.
That was a dream that came true actually. And
Yeah.
that's a beauty. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I sort of think about now, and you're
Mm,
starting with your
yeah.
background overall with
Yeah.
monoclonal antibodies, you probably have a lot of knowledge that could be leveraged now
Yeah.
in gene therapies to help with many of the things that you're sort of trying to.
Exactly. And you know, the essence of a scientist is to dig and understand.
Mm,
And if you're a scientist that go into biotech, into an industry, what you want is a translation not to understand, but translation to cure. And with this idea, gene therapy is going to be a cure for the next decades. So we need to bring those drugs to patients at reasonable cost because nobody can pay millions.
right.
And I think everything we've accumulated with my former company, Selexis, will translate that into new biologics, but with a different approach, which will be more based on data, scientific data like next generation sequencing and understanding the process of genome organization. So that's what we'll do.
And so, do you think, as you sort of envision the future, right? What are some of the biggest things that you think will impact the cost of these drugs?
The biggest thing is today we use what we call transient platforms. So you have to produce DNA, 3 types of DNA, and transfect transiently cells that have been grown, human cells. And already those costs are huge before you do starting point. And what we want to do is instead of using transient methods, we want to move from transient to stable methods. Then that means that you can grow the cells to a high density and produce many more particles per cell or per volume. So the importance and the issue with viral particles is that some of the viral particle genes are toxic to the cells. So when they're produced as protein, the cell die. So you have to work on systems that allow you to grow the cell with the genes of the viral particles, but that are turned off. And that's our work. And hopefully we will release the first cell lines or stable cell line by year end.
Yeah.
So that will clearly have a huge impact on production costs because you don't have to produce kilos of DNA. Now the DNA is in the cell. So you just work on the cell and the growth of the cell.
Yeah.
That's a big difference.
It's amazing to me to see many of these biologics come
Mhm.
along as well. To just know that there's so many things that we still don't know.
Yeah,
We still
and
don't understand.
And we are in an industry that is a little conservative. So when they start working on something, they don't want to change anything because it impacts so many of their own factors. And I think as a biotech, you have to be a startup that thinks about those things and that brings a solution to them. And that's what we do.
Yeah, and that leads me more or less to my next question. Why, why did you really want to do a startup? What was the interest there?
So, as I told you, my initial objective was after my postdoc in the UK was, oh, I'm going to be a professor, and I'm going to enter the academic field and blah, blah. And at the end of the day, I said, but I have no independence as a professor, none. And that's why I decided, no, I have to be independent. I want to take my own decisions and be accountable for my own decisions. That's why I decided to become an entrepreneur. And so far, I made a good choice.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I would imagine though that there's this balance of, having that scientific knowledge and then also trying to figure out how does this then work back into business.
I've never quit science. I've never quit anything. For me, we are in a business, a biotech business that involves a lot of human beings. And for me, business has the scientific component, so bring the right platform to the right people to cure patients. But then you have to have the sociability component. You need to like people.
Right.
And you need to convince people that what you do is unique and you need to show the data. And I think that's what I like in our business, biotech business. It's about humans.
Right.
We do deals and we have to be happy with meeting people. And that's why we're here.
Yeah. And so at Bio, what are some of the things that you hope most to get out of the conference?
Bio is a unique convention in a sense that you meet everybody. And you have to start engaging conversation with everybody. And you don't have to have only scientific discussions. You have to have marketing discussion. You have to envision the entire sector. But they have to know you, and you have to make sure that your company get on the radar of everybody and that they know you develop something unique. And with our past with Selexis and the success of that company with so many drugs on the market, that people now are convinced that with NewBiologix we'll be able to address the issues of production of viral particles and especially price.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot of the partnering meetings sort of are this combination of sort of thinking about things that other people, look at your company and say, hey, have you thought about doing this in addition to whatever it is you're working on, but also things that are much more in line, right, with the things that you're.
And you can exchange ideas, and we are not always right. And sometimes by exchanging views, you can implement some of the ideas of your partners or even your competitors. And it's always that makes the science progress, the biotech progress, and make your patients at the end of the day. So that's the objective.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
So tell me, what do you envision for the future for NewBiologix? What do you hope that happens in the future?
So my hope is we had a tremendous success with Selexis. And I believe we'll bring the same type of platform for gene therapy. And one day we'll be able to provide drugs not only for rare diseases, okay, but also for oncological diseases and those diseases with viral particles. And that will be happening only if we can have a stable platform. And I envision that we'll have a stable platform within the next 2 years, and you'll hear about it.
That would be such a pleasant future to live in.
It's
right?
going to be a game changer. I
Yeah.
think. A game in our industry, a game changer. So a lot of people are. It's a complex story, but I think we'll make it because, as you mentioned perfectly earlier, we have been at Selexis working on a system that is similar.
Right.
And we can translate that into another system that has the same issues, production.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Well, Igor, thank you so much for being on
Thank
the Life
you.
Science Success Podcast, and I really appreciate you being here with me. And I wish you well here at Bio. Hopefully, you have a great conference. So
Thank you very much, Don, and thank you for having me on the show.